Hello everyone, I'm Meteorologist Charlie Ironmonger. Thank you so much for joining me today for your noon news and weather update from the First Alert Desk. We want to go live now. We are waiting on our very own Stephen Glover, who has more on the Dominic Conley first appearance that happened in court this morning.
Month of being on the run, murder and stabbing suspect Dominic Conley had his first court appearance right behind me and didn't even say a word. Dominic Conley rolled into the Craven County Courthouse Friday morning and had his head down and didn't even say a word. He's been on a 6-week manhunt in Craven County for allegedly killing his grandmother and stabbing a sheriff deputy in the leg in October. Law enforcement captured Conley in an abandoned house in the woods north of Vanceboro, an area that has been searched previously. Conley is met by several sheriff deputies, Sheriff Chip Hughes and District Attorney Matt Wareham. Conley is charged with murder for his grandmother, first-degree arson, larceny of a motor vehicle, attempted first-degree murder for stabbing a sheriff deputy, and assault on a law enforcement officer and resisting a public officer.
So he has, in effect, no bond, which means he will be detained at the Craven County Sheriff's Office on Clark's Road in the jail until his cases come to trial.
And the most serious offense being the first-degree murder charge, the judge says Conley could face a death penalty or even life without parole. And Conley's next court appearance is scheduled for January 2nd. WITN News.
All right, thank you, Stephen. Now, Craven County Sheriff Chip Hughes.
And again, that was Stephen Glover reporting. We now want to turn our attention to a situation that really occurred earlier this morning in Onslow County. An explosion at an asphalt plant happened. Now, the details, again, are still coming in. Crews were called at around 8:20 a.m. to Onslow Grading and Pavement, which is right off Highway 24 in Hubert. Now, Onslow County Fire Marshal Jeremy Foster says the fire started when an employee came in to fire up the igniters and an explosion happened. Now, the fire traveled through the vents and spread to the bag house, which is where the dust collects, according to Foster. Now, no one was hurt, and 8 fire departments were at the plant for close to 3 hours. One employee told us that the plant will be out of operation until March because a new bag house will need to be built. And now we want to turn our attention to the ongoing conflict around Venezuela surrounding drug boats and what more people are trying to now point towards the U.S. looking for mineral rights in the South American country. NBC's Peter Alexander has more.
Tonight at the White House, President Trump hosting a black tie ball for members of Congress. It comes as the U.S. is ramping up its pressure campaign against Venezuela. The Treasury Department imposing new sanctions on that country's oil-based economy and on members of its authoritarian leader Nicolas Maduro's family, specifically targeting 3 of his nephews. The president is now eyeing an expansion of U.S. operations there after months of military strikes targeting alleged drug boats.
We'll start that on land, too. It's going to be starting on land pretty soon.
The escalation comes as the U.S. is moving to keep tens of millions of dollars worth of oil from the large tanker Skipper that it seized off Venezuela's coast. The White House says it will follow a legal process to do so.
We're not going to stand by and watch sanctioned vessels sail the seas with black market oil, the proceeds of which will fuel narco-terrorism of rogue and illegitimate regimes around the world.
2 U.S. officials tell NBC News the administration plans to bring the tanker to an American port in Galveston, Texas. Those officials say the U.S. has been interviewing members of the tanker's crew and plans to release them once the ship docks. A federal judge signed off on a seizure warrant ahead of Wednesday's operation. The Justice Department says the tanker is part of an illicit oil shipping network supporting foreign terrorist organizations, transporting sanctioned oil from Venezuela and Iran. The Venezuelan government has condemned the seizure as blatant theft. Democrats are denouncing the president's strategy in Latin America.
He seems to be sleepwalking into a war with Venezuela.
Republicans are largely backing the president, who was just asked about his rationale for the campaign, accusing Venezuela of sending drugs and criminals to the U.S.
It has to do with a lot of things. They've treated us badly, and I guess now we're not treating them so good.
And again, that was NBC's Peter Alexander reporting. We now want to turn to your weather forecast, looking at increasing cloud cover over eastern North Carolina skies, which some of those clouds are actually producing some very light snowflakes. If you're watching along and north of Highway 264, I just walked outside in Greenville just a few moments ago, saw some snowflakes coming down. Now, obviously, ground temperatures are still way too warm to support any sort of actual accumulations, but it is a pretty cool sight to see, especially knowing that this isn't our first round of snowflakes in December this year. Usually we got to wait till January and February where we get to talk about some of the snowy stuff, but this year, a little bit different. There's the cloud cover again rolling over the east. We've got more on the way further back towards the west, so plan on again cloudy conditions through the rest of the day. It's a nice day for boating if you're that guy. Certainly one of the few out there right now who are taking advantage of the light winds. 44-degree air temperature right now in New Bern comes with a dew point down in the low 20s, again highlighting a very dry air mass. Now, that again is limiting how much of those tiny little flakes we could possibly see, but it is certainly cool if you go out and want to just do a little spin in the snowfall. Of course, it's certainly not heavy, and it's not everywhere, but take a look outside, especially if you're watching, say, north of Washington, Swan Quarter, and Goldsboro. You kind of draw a line there across Wayne, Southern Greene, Southern Pitt, across Beaufort County, even into Southern Hyde County. All areas northward, again, could be seeing a few flakes come down. Nothing, of course, that's going to stick, though. Air temperatures compared to where we were yesterday are down about 4 to 8 degrees cooler than where we were yesterday at this time. Still hanging on to the upper 30s across parts of inland eastern North Carolina, but winds barely there. Barely. We're looking at around a 3 to 6 mile per hour sustained wind. Most areas right now are actually reporting calm conditions. Through the rest of this afternoon, we will continue to see wind speeds barely show up. Kind of just rolling by the party, saying hi, and then exiting. 48 degrees by 3 p.m. today. We'll cool off quickly as we head towards 4, 5, and 6, down into the upper 30s by 6 p.m. We'll cross over that freezing point between around 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. tonight, depending on your location. And tomorrow morning, waking up to the upper 20s will again put a chill in the bones. The good news is we've got a southwesterly breeze on the way for tomorrow, and that will help warm us on up into the mid to upper 50s. Getting close to our seasonal average. Normal this time of year is between around 58 to 61 degrees. Warmer temps closer to the water, cooler temps a little bit further inland and further northward. But we're going to be at least within throwing distance of that high. Coming up over next week, we'll actually see air temperatures surpass our average temperature. That's something we haven't been able to say so far this month. 67 degrees coming up next Thursday. All of you warm weather fans, make sure you make some plans on Thursday because it is going to be the first round of mid to upper 60s we have seen in quite some time, in at least 3 weeks. Now, we do have some cold weather to get through before we reach that 67-degree reading. Check out Monday. Overnight lows Sunday night into Monday morning, 18 degrees. Then Monday, your high temperature, despite the sunshine, mid-30s, 36 degrees. It is going to be a cold one to start off the work week. Of course, tomorrow looking pretty decent, up mid to upper 50s, very nice. Cooler on Sunday with rain chances present for some. And then Monday, just a cold, cold air mass sits over eastern North Carolina. Then we will warm up as that air mass pulls away from the east, moving up towards the northeast. That will warm us up from 36 degrees Monday to 48 on Tuesday, 57 on Wednesday, 67 by the time we reach next Thursday. Well, that's all we have time for today's noon news and weather update from the First Alert Desk. I want to thank you all so much for joining me. We'll be back with more news and weather coming up at the top of the hour. Until then, have a fantastic rest of your Friday.